38. Big bait is going to get you followers, but seeing fish does you no good. Got a bite. That'll keep. He's short if they got to be 15. He's good. They got to be 14.
Hey everybody, and welcome back to the TNCBA Outdoors channel. Guys, so in this video we're looking at the Morristown Marine event on Norris Lake from April 19th, and we're going to kind of break down what went wrong here. That momentum finally ran out for us. Things kind of went off the rails, as you have in the title, and this is really where this title for the series of Chasing Ghosts comes from, because these fish, especially in April, there's a lot of transitioning going on, there's a lot of movement going on, and I'm just going to break down to you what I felt like happened, the wrong decision that I made in this. We got a chance to practice just for the afternoon. Again, it's about 2 hours away from the house for us to run down there. So I headed down on Thursday afternoon and got to practice for a few hours. And my game plan going into this was to look at try to find pre-spawners, try to find fish that were not on the beds, not being on the lake very often, being a couple hours away, not really knowing how many waves have come up, have moved up to spawn, but knowing, you know, that we're headed towards a full moon here. We are still in mid-April. There's plenty of fish that have not spawned. So I kind of got into the clearest and coolest water that I could find, hoping to find fish that were pulling up, staging up, ready to go on the beds. And as you see here in this first part of the video while we're practicing, we see some cruisers. We see some largemouth that are moving up into these little sections, these little tiny pockets of wood cover. Again, a lot of times what will happen on these highland reservoirs, your smallmouth will spawn first, then your largemouth will be pulling up. So I was excited to be running into these largemouth with the mag draft, and I'd seen a couple followers as well. But one thing that should have really kicked off in my head that I did not pay attention to like I should have was simply the fact that when you see these fish cruising, and even saw a couple pairing up, my mind should have said, hey, look, these fish are too far along in this phase. These fish, for me, in my experiences, when they get to that point that they're pairing up and getting ready to go on beds, right, like just before, they're not easy to catch. They get into that focus of spawning. They're very difficult to trick into biting, and for whatever reason, I tried to force it in my head that, oh, these fish are going to be here. There's going to be some bigger ones coming into this same area. And really, those fish probably kind of locked onto the bed down underneath this brush. And with the wind that we had on Saturday, made it difficult to fish for spawners or to be able to see any of these fish like I did on this practice day. So the plan of pulling into those areas with that mag draft with the spinner bait, I feel like we chose, or I chose, I should say, the wrong area to focus on with where they were at in that progression. And I picked fish that were just way too finicky, that were going to be too difficult to catch in the tournament. And, you know, we went into the area where I'd gotten these bites and I'd seen these fish, and we catch one really early, as you're going to see here on tournament day. We just pull into this cove where I'd caught a couple the day before, or Thursday in practice, and I start flipping around the mag draft while Snyder's throwing around the A-rig and spinnerbait a little bit. We get a keeper really quick, so I'm like, okay, maybe this is going to work out. Maybe we're going to be okay. But after we catch this keeper here to start off the day, like, we just never We hardly get any more bites. The size is very small.
Take your time.
And finally, towards the end of the day, I'm just like, forget it. We're going to head back into Big Creek, and we're just going to work our way back in through there. We're going to hit some of the same stuff, but maybe focus on some warmer water, maybe some areas where fish should be further along. And, you know, luckily we were able to pick up a couple keepers late in the day to salvage some points. Now, basically, out of people that wade fishing, we finished as far down the leaderboard as you can. We were in 135th, which totally tanks you on the points. We only had 3 fish to weigh in, which, again, better than the one that we had. But April is just the time of the month that you have to go get a limit. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. There's no excuses. Like, you are shooting yourself in the foot if you do not go out there and put 5 fish in the boat. And that's where we struggled. And the fish that we caught later on in the day were still on the spinner bait, but they were just in a little bit different area than what I had been focusing in there for practice and where we had started. So ultimately, what I guess I would have changed, what I would have looked at different instead of going towards that pre-spawn, when I saw some of those fish that were pairing up, that were getting into that mode of getting ready to go on beds, and we're going to be finicky based on just past experience, I should have gotten into areas where either they were more post-spawn. The hard thing coming down there is to find bedding fish in these clear highland reservoirs. You need to have a little bit more familiarity with the lake than what I do. You need to know some of those key bedding areas. You need to get some bites, and a lot of times you got to go real slow to get some of these smallmouth to bite if they're spawning, or be able to see them, which was hard to do with that wind on the tournament day. So I made the mistake there, and I should have just said, okay, let's go find the warmest water we can. Let's find areas where they should have already spawned, and they should have pulled out post-spawn to feed a little bit better. And I think that would have given us a better chance at getting a limit of fish with the limited amount of practice time that we had. Still love Norris. I love going down there. I love the number of bites that you get. It's a very healthy population of fish. It feels very much like Watauga to me because of the fact that you do have a good population of largemouth, smallmouth, spotted bass, and I enjoy fishing the lake. I do like it now that 15 inches across the board as far as smallmouth and largemouth go. But still just, I never had any real confidence, didn't have that momentum that we had in the other couple tournaments, and we struggled. But making better decisions, paying attention to what you're seeing, and factoring that into those decisions so that you don't try to force something like I did is that difference between continuing that momentum and keeping the points up there. But ultimately, you know, we're still sitting in 15th place in the Team of the Year standings. We're not completely out of that chance of getting into the Bassmaster Team Championship. We've got one more to go on Watts Bar, which is going to be it's going to be a tough one as far as we're not going to get to be able to run down there and practice at all. So we're going to be showing up on tournament morning to fish. But you're getting past April, so these fish get a little bit more predictable from my standpoint. We're coming up on the full moon there in May. There should be a shad spawn going on for sure. We're going to walk into that one and at least start in an area where we know that fish pull up and shad pull up to spawn, and try to get the limit early. And then down there, I think we're going to just straight up go looking for post-spawn fish in those key post-spawn areas, maybe on bluffs, maybe on some little secondary points where they'd be pulling back out, and even some main lake points there on Watts Bar. But guys, I appreciate y'all joining us for this video. Hopefully you can take some things away from this, learn a little bit from the mistakes that I made, and carry that on into the future tournaments in April next year, wherever we end up. But again, it's a good time on the water. Enjoy getting out there. The weather was beautiful. Fishing could have been better for us, but had a good time. Guys, we will see you all on the next episode when we break down Watts Bar and how that tournament goes and how we wrap up the Morristown Marine Tournament Trail season.